And the most important thing there is to create a unified data layer. All right.
Yes.
Which is which basically unifies all these data from multiple data silos and systems, and then bring something out there for multiple business users to create data science workbenches on top of it, and then drive insights out of it. And then the technology enablers that you mentioned, right? The workflows, the AI, the automation are just a top up on this particular data layer.
Yes.
And then loved the concept of you introducing, it's not bots anymore, modern, it's gonna be virtual agents, digital agents.
Yeah.
um it's because of the strides that we've made, the whole as human beings as well, right? In developing something like a generative AI today, right?
Mm.
It's going to be not very far. It's not at all far-fetched to even think about bots being super intelligent and almost driving most of these simple queries at the contact center level, and then driving them to really at certain stage. One more additional tech enabler that I would, sorry, really just closing my thought there. The additional tech enabler that I would like to think about is also I think we've spoken about this. It's about the listening capability of a particular organization. And how do you do that? It's through analytics, and it's through intelligence. And that's a key area of where, especially from a CCaaS platform standpoint, you need to really be very you need to be investing into developing your product from that angle. Invest specifically from the intelligence angle. Drive your product to be capable of analyzing multiple conversations from multiple channels. And that's going to be a key differentiator as well, from
Couldn't
a
agree with you more. Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah. So, if you think about the amount of operational data that we could generate every day, there are multiple
Yes.
kinds of customers with multiple topics through multiple channels, resulting in multiple outcomes.
Yeah.
And the sheer combination of those variables is enormous, particularly if you then combine that over time. So absolutely right. So, in summary, what we're saying here is that life cycle is an opportunity that requires, let's call it unified. I like that language that you've used there. Let's call a unified approach to data,
Yes.
analytics,
Yes.
insight.
Yes.
Um, let's call it next best action, automated appropriateness. Let's call it that. Automated
I
appropriateness,
I really
um,
like it. Yes.
workflow, um, and then the communication layer. And everything needs to be done in a way that is common and standardized across time. That's the North Star. And
Absolutely.
what we've got currently is quite different approaches in each of those different functional areas.
Correct.
I suspect what will happen, as reason for our conversation really, is that whilst tech only enables, we need to build that capability. We are
Yes.
seeing technology increasingly recognizing the opportunity for, let's call it, an ecosystem in which the bits are plumbed together. And as with all things, different companies will take different routes. You may well find that actually the connectors between those functional areas are enough to produce unification. Other
Absolutely.
people might go, it is so legacy, we will actually start again with something that has got a strong unified model in one of those areas. But I think, practically speaking, to start that off for organizations, it begins with conversations amongst those functional stakeholders, imagining what that future would look like, and then starting to become increasingly practical about the issues of how many layers have we got? For us, the model says data, insight, analytics, workflow, comms, whatever those things are. At
Yes.
the moment, what's our status within our space? And then what was our status to move to a single version of that? And
Correct.
that then becomes the basis of your program of transformation over that period of time. And then you're looking for vendors who can help you enable that with the least number of integrations you can get away with. I would put it like that, because every time you integrate, you introduce some unknown performance, potential risk or failure there. Against, by the way, that nobody likes to put all their eggs into one basket. That's the other thing that drives, I think, purchasing behavior. But the more we can simplify that to produce that ecosystem, that will be the place out of which we can grow new teamwork, new objectives, and basically new ways of engaging customers across that life cycle.
Yeah. And what do you think is the best way for the organizations to think about building this kind of an ecosystem? Should they, think about building it from a phase-wise manner, or rather keep objectives in mind and solve for like short-term objectives, and then, with the end in sight again, not losing the sight of the larger picture, which is the ecosystem, which is building the ecosystem and why we are solving for it? Or is it having everything put up and all the budgets in place, and then go all in terms of building everything in parallel and be really quick about it? What do you think?
Well, I think
uh
different people have different motivations. I think that the safest route is going to be you're going to look for synergies to optimize the current models. As we talk, for example, about is it worthwhile proactively engaging customers whilst they're buying? Is it worthwhile proactively cross-selling and upselling? And how does that link with sales? How does that link with marketing? Where are those missed opportunities? Those things are things through discussion you can all spot, and you can then say, how can we incrementally develop the systems to help us see that and help us respond to that? I think
yeah,
that will give you an optimization of your current thing. How close that gets you to the vision we've just painted, I don't know. Others might go, we are so broken and we're still in a data center, we might as well start as we intend to proceed and actually start with a more ambitious plan.
got it.
And that might be, by the way, for organizations that go, if we really are true to our creed that says CX is our differentiator, and we really do think that this siloism is a core missed opportunity, both for us to get more value, but also for the customers to be happier and more loyal, then we need to reorchestrate and reorganize how we're doing stuff. It matters that much that we will invest in that kind of future. And
Got it.
I think that things like generative AI and the splash that it's made has made people understand that we are just literally in a new phase. I heard a great quote yesterday from Benedict Evans, who's a great analyst, saying that Bill Gates apparently has said, I've seen two properly disruptive things in my life. The first one is at Xerox Park, when I saw the GUI for the first time. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing is the thing called generative AI.
Generative
Those are the
AI,
two
yes.
moments in life where I think it fundamentally pivots. And
Yes.
if that does transpire to be as true as we think it might be, then
Yes.
I think there's going to be a very feverish environment within organizations, increasingly, to be ambitious for the fear of getting lost, etc., etc. What I would say is that it's not about that technology as such. It's about the new ways of engaging between ourselves and with our customers that matters most. So I think going through the business of breaking down assumptions and thinking, what could a North Star look like on customer value management, for example? We've had this conversation because I think it's a highly relevant mental model for organizations to adopt. Yeah, it's not worth talking about. In fact, I was talking about this 10 years ago. It didn't really go anywhere because the tech wasn't able to enable it, right? It was just impossible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now it can do, and it looks increasingly likely it will do. So the
Got
point is, you don't want to buy the tech and get over fascinated by the fact that generative AI version 4.3 is now different from 4.2. Who gives a damn? The bigger picture is eventually it will all mature, eventually. But what are you doing in the meantime in terms
yeah.
of what you want to build out? And that you can start to do immediately, and you should be doing that and really thinking through how much better you could make it. You might start tactically, incrementally to optimize, which is probably what you want to do for risk. But in your back pocket, you will reach a point in the road that goes, this is working so well, we need to now think of actually what's fit for the next generation in terms of that ecosystem. That may well lend you to thinking more radical ways around the technology stack once you've got some collaboration going on that indicates it's worth it.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. And that's the way to go about it. And yeah.
Okay. So I think we've probably got our conversation to a point of completion. We've certainly given our listeners some big ideas today,
Yes.
Ramana. So I think
Yes.
we should rest our case,
Yes.
allow them to digest that,
Yes.
and see what we get in terms of response from people.